Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of StarCraft Inc. Today is a special match for two reasons. One of which, we have a special guest right now. He's from another channel called Polygon Review, or also known as GGVision. Sebastian, how are you?
I am very well, my friend, and very thankful to be here on this show, broadcasting StarCraft 2 with you for the first time. And I've been doing this for a while. I'm right now transitioning to doing StarCraft 2 content in Swedish, as I am indeed Swedish, but it's a thrill to be able to do it in English once again and provide mine and your viewers with some of that action. So thanks again for letting me be on the show, Matt.
Hey, no problem. I've actually been trying to get in touch with Sebastian for quite a while, and he's always been good at returning my messages, but we've never been able to get something rolling. I've done co-casts with other SSN members, and you guys all know who that is. But, you know, it's the first time that I've really done a co-cast with a channel that wasn't affiliated with mine, so I'm really excited to do this as well. And you guys are going to have to bear with our clumsiness at first, because this is the first cast we've ever done together. And as always, I've not watched this replay, and I've urged Sebastian to do the same. He has not seen this. We don't know how this is going to end. But let's talk about the players. Sebastian, tell me what you know about MStephano.
Well, MStephano is a very creative player, as unorthodox as is his haircut, and as rough, I'd say. He's right now going for a quick expand here on Antigua Shipyard, which is a map that often allows for that sort of thing. He made his name this past year, 2011, very quickly, came sort of out of nowhere, a French player, of course, and he has won a lot of money in the IPL leagues in particular, and really just skyrocketed to the height of StarCraft 2. And he always plays pink, I believe, and never says GG. He has his own phrase to concede defeat with, and is unorthodox indeed. And these two players, OgsTheStc, who's here doing a bit of a wall in and not going for a quick expand, they do have a bit of a grudge, which is to be settled in this match, because STC, he almost won the IPL 3, didn't he, Matt?
OgsTheStc, he most certainly did. Never really made it to Code S, always been a Code A player, and then in IPL Season 3, he beat out players like Whitera and Idra. He beat Idra twice. Once in the preliminary matches, then again in the finals. Made it to second place, only to be defeated by MStephano himself.
The Pink Power Ranger, sir.
The Pink Power Ranger. And I'm excited to see how these guys play it out. This is, by the way, OgsTheStc is South Korean, and that is really where StarCraft gets its flair. Those guys take it seriously, and this is probably one of the Asian favorite matches, the Terran versus Zerg. Not all of them care about Protoss too much, but this is like the traditional clash.
Absolutely, and it is also my very favorite matchup. It was the same in Brood War, and you always get to see the most action, and also the best combination between micro and macro in this matchup, I do believe. And especially if we, as I dare suggest, we see a bit of a 1-1-1, well, maybe not actually, but we do see fast Hellions, actually, double Hellions, so pardon me that. We will see a bit of early harassment from OgsTC, trying to punish any early economic advantage from Stephano and keep his creep spread from growing far too aggressive. And then we'll see OgsTC, I predict, go for a heavy infantry-based mid-game push that can be very deadly.
Right on. Well, until we see that second gas, we can assume no more tech other than those Hellions. And from MStephano, getting that preemptive spine crawler because he knows something like that's coming. How do you feel about oh, never mind. I was going to say, let's talk about the location of that spine crawler, because look at it. It's so far forward and pulling up at the wrong time as two Hellions come out right now, but I don't even think OgsTC knows. I'm just going to call him the STC because I keep getting tongue-tied.
Yeah, I think that's why he picked that nickname, and especially with the old generations clan, it just adds another obstacle for your tongue to get over. But it seems, yes, that he is reluctant to really go in there, and reluctance is never a good quality in StarCraft 2, and now we see how Stephano is tempting him with his Zerglings. He's now got a Spinecrawler in a much more optimal position. Often we see Zerg players place Evolution Chambers at these chokes, only to prevent Hellion run-bys, really, and is now placing a second. Oh, that is an Evolution Chamber right there, and now a second Spine Crawler. And it seems like he is indeed quite safe from this early Hellion harass. He now has 4 while he's taking his third expansion at the 10 o'clock base.
The STC definitely kind of using those Hellions to contain his opponent. And MStephano, I feel like, you know, he thinks he's safe, and he is, but that's exactly what he wants. He wants him to sit in his base and be airtight. As the STC takes that third and gains the economic advantage you really need in a TVZ.
Absolutely, and the old story rings true. If you're not one base ahead of your opponent as Zerg, then you are behind, and right now we see STC will soon be one base on top, so that means Stephano is indeed far away, far behind economically, and with 6 Hellions sitting outside his base, he will have to sacrifice a lot of speedlings to be able to maneuver the map, and this looks quite good for STC in the early game, but we haven't seen Stephano's counter move yet.
It's true, and I'm not really sure the direction that he's going to go in. He hasn't shown any sign of tech switch yet. He's morphing his hatchery, which, you know, that could turn into Muta, that could turn into like heavy roach play, but there's really no signs yet. He's got all his gases though, which kind of tells me that it's not going to be roaches.
He is investing in both melee weapons and ground armor, which would imply high reliance on Zerglings and or Banelings in the mid-game, and of course it will benefit his Ultralisks later. Now we see his Infestor Pit going up, which could suggest him moving forward not until he has Fungal Growth, which is fairly standard in this matchup from Zerg players, and of course he'll be able to pin down Hellions, Medivacs and everything with that, and regain lost map control. But the question is, will STC already have too big an advantage by then?
We see Stim coming out, which is, you know, that's the staple upgrade for Terran, and I'm glad he's getting it. He's getting it with his tanks, and there's no sign of Medivacs yet. I don't even think there's a starport.
There is not.
There's no starport, which means we're not going to see any drops, which, you know, he's got him pinned into 2 bases, so it's probably not a good idea to drop, as there's not much of a distance for Stephano to cover. Drops are not likely to be successful. And in that sense, Marine Tank is so powerful against Zerg, because you can kind of emulate that Zerg-style production where there's just so much so fast, and the Zerg player kills it, and it's right back, you know, fully maxed because of all those reactors.
Indeed, and meanwhile in Stephano's base, I'd like to point the attention of the viewers towards how aggressively he is creeping. We've got 5 creep tumors. It's being protected by a spawn crawler and a whole legion of Zerglings, just because he needs to get that creep out there, and it's spreading right now in a counter circle around these Hellions. So Stephano is slowly getting out there, and it seems like he's very anxious to do so. Meanwhile, his infestor count is increasing. We've seen very little further tech. He's continuing with level 2 on melee weapons and armor, so this is indeed a Zergling Baneling heavy build, but then again he hasn't had a Baneling nest either, so is he taking straight for Ultralisks?
He did manage to get his 3rd, which I'm pretty proud of him for.
Uh-huh.
And there's no blue flame on those Hellions, so they're a little bit outmatched by these Zerglings, even though they are roughly the same speed. And look, they get caught almost. 1 Fungal Growth will be the end for those Hellions. 2 of them get surrounded, and looks like 4 of them are going to get away, but oh my god, that was not good.
It seems like STC's advantage has passed. These Hellions will perish. Actually, 3 of them do survive, but nevertheless, the siege has been broken, and Stephano is now free, and we see how he's going all Zerglings. And this is indeed quite indicative of Stephano's style. We've seen this before from him, and this is part of the Pink Power Ranger unorthodoxness that he has managed to utilize so effectively. This is not really supposed to work, and the question is, will it? Infestors and Zerglings only, and now the Infestors are clashing with the Hellions. You might be slightly ahead of me, Matt, I'm not sure in the counter, but it seems like indeed the Hellions are getting obliterated right now, and the question is, when will we see the Ultras? The lair has begun to morph into a hive.
I actually have a big engagement here right now from Lings and Infestors against Marines here. OgsTheStc was trying to take the Gold Expo, and a bunch of Marines, just naked, not set up with siege tanks, get obliterated by both Lings and Infestors. Infested Terrans sprouting all over the place, making a lot of difficulty. And actually, STC is going to engage the Infested Terran, which is not a cost-effective method of engagement. There's one siege tank supporting the Marines, but a lot of free kills for Stephano as
Ouch.
his mana cost units are killing money cost units.
Indeed, STC of course does clean that up, but with substantial losses, not to mention substantial losses in time. He did not get his fourth. Stephano has regained a lot of the momentum that he was prohibited to from early in the game. We now see Mobius Reactor coming up from STC and making a switch into Ghost, of course. But we see further harassment in the form of infested Terrans and now fungal growth on all those SCVs. That is just a beauty to behold if you're a part of the swarm.
It looks like Stephano's losing a few free infestors to a few Marines, which is never a good thing to have happen. It's so much, when you're going really heavy into infestors, it's so much about using their spells and getting them out to let them regenerate that mana later. Every infestor down is just so bad for the end game. And then we are seeing MStephano do that creep block of STC's fourth, which is very, very frustrating for any player trying to expand. And but seeing as how he is on the gold, it won't be a long time until it will be a long time before he needs that fourth.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, we see how Stephano, in a very cost-effective manner, continues to just mass infested Terrans and very cost-effective exchanges with OgsTheStc. Meanwhile, he has taken his fourth base. It's about to be completed. His Ultilis Cavern is done, and working on all the final upgrades for his melee units, including Cracklings. And this is, again, very indicative of Stephano's style. He is slow and steady, but when his hammer falls, it's the hammer of Thor.
Oh, you and I could be best friends for that reference. We've got some medevacs on the field now, and he is really pushing forward onto that creep, trying to block creep tumors, trying to pick off spine crawlers so that he can cost-effectively push onto that creep when he feels that he needs to. He doesn't really have many units on the field right now. Even though his supply is higher, it just seems that they're all spread out so far apart, and that's effective for siege tanks, but when Stephano doesn't really need to get close to kill those units, it kind of takes away the advantage.
Absolutely, and it clearly shows here that Stephano's game plan was never to take bases early or to risk being torn apart by not being able to defend his peripheral bases. He's now got no less than 6 bases, not all of them fully up and running. He can afford to lose a few and still be ahead. Meanwhile, STC is pushing forward, taking down spine crawlers and tumors uncontended, but it seems like Stephano is only biding his time, waiting for the opportune moment to strike.
If you notice the way that Stephano was taking out siege tanks, he was dumping infested Terran on them and then allowing the other siege tanks in range to actually kill that siege tank with splash while the eggs hatch. And now we do see a full engagement here. Stephano dumping all of the Marines and Lings, jumping in on top of the siege tanks, and Ultralists getting in on the engagement. A couple medevacs trying to keep the Terran units alive, but there's just not enough here. That long backwards spread of units is really starting to wear on the push by Stephano, but I think Stephano came out on top of this trade duty with Infestors. A couple Ultralisks wandering out ahead, getting obliterated by both Marauders and Siege Tanks, and I think STC really caught on to that switch to Ultralisks just by seeing the upgrades on the units, so he did make that switch to Marauders pretty hard.
Indeed, and he, as we know, have played against Stephano before, so he is no stranger to his style, and we should point out that 2 of Stephano's bases were obliterated simultaneously during that big engagement, the one at the 2 o'clock and the one at the 7 o'clock by STC, showing that Korean multitasking ability. And indeed, I would say that STC has a strong position in this game. Whilst I will not count out Stephano yet, it seems that his telltale sign, his playstyle, isn't really working as well as it's supposed to. But 10 more infestors are on the way.
We are seeing a lot of drops here from the STC, and another one landing in Stephano's base for the second time. It's already been warded off once, but the speedlings with the creep spread that Stephano does have get there in plenty of time. There's not enough time for those Marauders to do any damage. They were trying to snipe a gas. 2 spine crawlers will go down to lower the amount of attention Stephano really has to spend to that space. And trying to poke and prod up onto that high ground by the watchtower again. But having siege tanks guarding a watchtower, that's so powerful, because not only do you have the firing range, and you get that extra range that the tanks didn't have without air units, even though he has air units, but I mean, you know, the vision plus the fire range is so strong, and it allows him to set up properly when anything's coming at him.
Indeed, Antigua Shipyard is all about controlling the middle, and as a Terran player, you're very well situated to do that. Most Zerg players play this map with the clear purpose of denying middle control for the opponent, and I'm only surprised to see that STC has only 4 ghosts. Usually you rely very heavily on ghost snipe in order to take down these ultilisk heavy armies, dropping a beautiful EMP there just before, and another engagement.
We do have a huge engagement going on here. A couple nice EMPs draining most of the infestors, but then a huge batch of unknown infestors with STC show up from the east and really help him push through right to the goal. Good infested Terran, good farmers roads going down on all the medevacs, getting every single one but one, pushing right in on top of the production for STC, and it looks like STC will lose this gold expansion. A bunch of infested Terran being poured out on top of the gold, and killing not only the planetary fortress but the SCVs around it as well. However, all the infestors are surrounding this planetary fortress right now, almost losing a couple just to its firepower, but they do manage to take it down before he takes any heavy losses to the spell cabinet.
Well, one thing to say about Stephano is that he is never reluctant to sacrifice a lot, if not all of his troops, if he thinks that will grant him victory. And as a commander, that makes him quite successful, if not so popular with his underlings. And again, this is the Zerg hammer or sledge of Thor, and it's just amazing how Stephano can make this work. This aggressive Zerg style is not supposed to work.
Well, we're seeing it work very well right now. And whether it's supposed to work or not, Stephano is making me smile as he's slowly pushing forward into OgsTC's territory, and OgsTC really is having trouble keeping up with the production, and he's expanding all over the place, though. Despite that, a few more planetary fortresses, I guess one more planetary fortress, and then another command center going up near that fourth that's blocked by creep, but a single marine is clearing out the overlord there, and then taking an expansion right to the north of Stephano's third. So it's kind of in Stephano's territory, but Stephano spots it with a few lings, forces it to lift off, and we do see Stephano really trying to hold on against these drops that are just spraying all over the map. And the STC really keeping Stephano multitasking, which is what you got to do.
The STC has clearly learned his lesson from their matches in the IPL, where he was bested by this French way of playing Zerg. Definitely a very unique style that few Zerg players can really utilize. And now we see them both going into the starvation game. This is no longer about who can win with the best tactics or multitasking. This is about who is left standing when all resources are out, and it seems now that another engagement is happening.
Right on, man. And a lot of what's going on here is Stephano really utilizing, like I said, the mana cost units versus money cost units that OgsTSC is spitting out. And the STC really has to depend on those EMPs, while Stephano is really depending on the infested Terran. And like I said, at no cost. So when you ask who's going to win that cost game, in the end, I think it's going to be the one spending mana.
Indeed, and again, StarCraft 2 has moved to the level of complexity as a professional esport that these kind of utilizations of hidden resources such as mana is really coming to the forefront. When players are able to use these abilities to the utmost, that creates an advantage. And Stephano is truly doing that to the max. I'd also like to point out how he's throughout this game kept his money low. Never have the minerals exceeded 500 almost. But the drops are continuing, and the STC is truly forcing Stephano to work all over the map all the time.
That was a big 4 medevac drop, and able to be cleaned up, actually faking him out by pulling away with that drop and coming with a single medevac right after, which is an interesting play, but Stephano had his eyes open, he caught that right away, and we're seeing a big bio ball sitting at the tower in the middle, trying to defend that gold expo, which he has now taken again for the 3rd time, and has saturated again. We're seeing Stephano sit on a lot of gas, which is nice for him, seeing as how he is using those infestors, so he just has to save up those minerals where he can, and then dump it all on infestors when he's got like an infinite surplus of gas right now, sitting almost at 4,000, 3,600 to be exact.
Indeed, but slowly but surely Stephano is starving. He's oversaturated at the 6 o'clock expansion, and the only other mining one is the one at the 9th that has been continuously harassed. And whereas OG's STC has the gold, he has a new expansion at the 1 o'clock and another engagement in the middle.
Just got bungled, losing almost every SCV at the gold.
Ouch.
And we do have an engagement at the center, a bunch of Marauders almost getting some good kills, but now we're seeing Stephano long distance mine his gold, and it's about time he takes that space, but it's going to be really hard for him to do so. He is going for it though, taking an expansion there, and trying to hold off any pressure from the high ground, but it looks like the high ground now belongs to Stephano.
This is such an unrelentless position to be in as a Zerg, trying to take that middle position with an entrenched Terran just one spits and a skip away. And I'd also like to apologize to the viewers for us being somewhat unsynced. I know I'm a bit behind Matt, but we try to keep up with the action nevertheless. If Stephano can hold the gold, then he is indeed the reigning IPL free champion, but I doubt even he's able to do it.
What time are you sitting at?
I'm sitting at 30-10.
30-10? I'll hit pause for 10 seconds. Here you go. Tell me when you're at 29.
Alright, sir.
Just doing
Almost
a little bit of resyncing here, guys.
Well, I am at 26, 27, 28, 29.
29. Here we go. Alright. The middle of the map does belong to the STC again, and Stephano doesn't look like he will be able to maintain that gold unless he makes a really cost-effective push right now.
He has 2 buried infestors right underneath here, just southeast of the actual tower, and he might use that to fungal growth those troops all the way to hell. Now catching a bunch of ghosts with fungal and being able to obliterate them at once. Actually, they cloak again.
Oh, great spotting though by Stephano. I'm surprised he saw that when he did, and he actually uses the opportunity to split STC's attention and really take the middle with those Ultralisks. Ends up getting those ghosts on the low ground anyway, and this could be the breaking point, but there are a lot of siege tanks to go through still. I think he needs to pull back. It's not going to be worth it.
Indeed not. Those were many ghosts that perished, but there are 5 that remain. Combine that with siege tank fire and overlapping lines of siege tank fire, and not even Ultralisks can withstand the onslaught. But for a while, he now has a bit of breathing room. Will it be enough to harvest enough resources for another relentless push?
We can see some of those siege tanks creeping forward, and it's a terrible situation to be in because it kind of forces Stephano's hand. He needs to push forward, but you can hear the mass snipes going down on the Ultralisks. The medevacs trying to follow suit, and I really don't know where this is going to go. A bunch of Ultralisks managed to kill quite a few tanks, leaving only 5 that I can see. 6, like 7. Holy crap, it just kind of keeps going back.
Indeed. Meanwhile, we see 3 infested Terrans at the 2 o'clock Terran expansion trying to cause a havoc, but there's only so much they can do, and it's being cleaned up immediately. 3 infested Terrans on Burrow, putting fungal growth and infested Terrans on all the Medivacs and Marines in the middle, but it's not enough and it's not cost effective. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna call it here. The riddle of Stephano has been solved. This is how you beat him.
Well said, Sebastian. Oh my gosh. You need to write my calendar. Just put epic things on all the days. as to how I can fix my problem.
Well, I'm happy to co-cast with you from time to time at the very least. We saw a beautiful fungal growth on the Ghost, but it was not enough. The hatchery at the gold has fallen, and I don't think Stephano has any more aces hidden in his dreadlocks. This will be the final blow.
It looks like it. I don't know what to say, man. Really, this came down to STC managing to fly Stephano out, and I really feel that Stephano did the most of what he had. He was not really wasteful with his vestige. I mean, he lost a few, but that tech switch to Ghost was the right one, and I feel like Stephano really needed to make his tech switch into more heavy airplay or something.
Absolutely. He was unable to switch, and there we see him saying Grats instead of GG, the Pink Power Ranger Zerg's special signature. But OGS STC was the adaptable one. He was the one who switched tactics, who saw the holes in his opponent's game plan and utilized them, whereas Stephano just kept on slugging with that Zerg sledgehammer, and it was not enough, not this time. And in the end, we saw how STC relied entirely on an armada of ghosts with more medivacs than I can count, just to keep them alive for all the fungal growths and sniping the ultras before they got there. It was a beautiful response to what seemed to be an unsolvable riddle not too long ago.
Right on. Sebastian, thank you for joining me in this episode of StarCraft Inc. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. This is a pretty epic match, if you ask me. Sorry about the desync, guys. That tends to happen when you guys are casting with someone on the other side of the world. But anyway, I really enjoyed casting with you. I hope to have you back on the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Matt, and all the viewers of StarCraft Inc. It's been a pleasure, and I do hope to be invited back, despite the syncing issues, and to broadcast some StarCraft to you again. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
All right, see you guys next time.